everybody. Welcome back to another edition of News for People Who Hate the News. I've done things in the past where I've tried to go thing by the news day by day. This time I'm going to kind of go over things that I think are highest priority to lowest priority in this week of news. So to start with, Donald Trump's bond in his New York fraud case was dropped from like 460 million to 145 million. Some people are looking at this as a win. I do not see it that way. Really, it should be $0, and he shouldn't even be in court over this. And as I've said before, this is all just election interference to keep him from running a campaign the way a presidential candidate normally would. Speaking of his real estate case in New York, Jon Stewart, the oh-so-wise philosopher that he is, proceeded to rag on Trump about this case, and then was caught doing pretty much the same exact thing that Donald Trump is being accused of. Apparently, several years ago, Jon Stewart overvalued a condo of his in New York and then sold it to someone else who then lost about $4 million on the sale of that condo. So Stewart overvalued a property and made a ton of money on it and was never charged with real estate fraud or anything like that. So maybe someone from Homeland Security or the IRS or something needs to look into Jon Stewart. However, that ain't going to happen because Jon Stewart is an avowed Democrat, and we all know that there's a two-tier justice system. If you're a Democrat, you can get away with murder and nobody cares. But if you so much as, drop a piece of paper on the ground and you're a Republican, then you're going to jail for life. Speaking of Homeland Security, though, Homeland Security apparently raided 3 of P. Diddy's homes across the country on allegations of some serious sexually related crimes. Apparently, before they were even able to raid his house, though, or his houses, rather, he just dipped out of the country. Nobody's really seen him over the last week or so. Apparently, 2 of his kids were, I think, detained for a minute by police, but were then let go since they didn't have anything to do with it, I don't think. But I could be getting some of these details wrong, so forgive me if I have. I just know that his 3 homes across the country were raided by Homeland Security, and that's a pretty big deal. However, that makes me think that out of all people that you're going to raid the homes of, P. Diddy is kind of top priority right now? It doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And if I had a physical tinfoil hat, I'd be putting it on right now, because it almost seems like this is kind of a cover-up for something else. Maybe a look over here while we're doing something over here, sort of thing. Speaking of conspiracy theories, it's not a conspiracy that the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore, Maryland was struck by a cargo vessel, causing the entire bridge to collapse. I'm unaware of the death toll at this point, but I do know that a couple people did die, unfortunately, from this, and several more were injured. So my heart and thoughts and prayers go out to those who were victims of this. But here's where the conspiracy theory comes in. There was a big boat that hit the bridge, and from what I saw in video footage, it almost seemed like it steered directly into the bridge. Now, I'm no expert on how boats work or how water vessels, watercraft move and maneuver, but it looked like it was gunning straight for that bridge. My own personal theory that I cooked up that has no merit whatsoever, it's just a fun theory I thought of. Apparently the cargo vessel had flags on it from Singapore. If we remember, the CEO and founder of TikTok is originally from Singapore. Now, I know it's owned by a Chinese company, ByteDance, but the Chinese government always has some sort of a stake in whatever companies operate out of China. If we remember, not too long ago, the U.S. government was considering a ban of TikTok, which that bill kind of has paused in the Senate right now. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. But if you follow where I'm going with this, it almost seems like this might have been a deliberate thing from China to impact our economics because TikTok might be banned, which would then affect China's economic status. So, again, I have no proof of that. I'm just a dude complaining about stuff on the internet. That's my own tinfoil theory I came up with that has no merit whatsoever. So do not take that seriously at all. Just a fun thing that I thought of, kind of putting two and two together about recent events that have happened. On a more serious note, Planet Fitness has lost over $400 million over the past week over an incident that occurred at one of their locations. Apparently, there was a person who claimed to be transgender that was in the woman's locker room grooming himself in the locker room when a mom and her daughter walked in. The girl was apparently, petrified, as any young girl would be. And the woman confronted this person, this dude, about it. To which then she complained to Planet Fitness over the incident and then had her membership canceled by Planet Fitness. This has then caused people to cancel their memberships and ditch Planet Fitness, resulting in a lot of money being lost by the company. To my knowledge, they have not come out and said anything at this time. However, I'm not entirely sure about that one either, so don't take my word for that fully. However, it does seem like Planet Fitness is getting a little bit of the Bud Light treatment. It surprises me that these companies and corporations have not learned. I mean, seeing what happened to Bud Light and how much money they lost, and they still do this goofy stuff. It boggles my mind, but that's liberal logic for you. It's meant to not make sense. Speaking of liberal logic, that was a good segue. Women in New York City apparently have been randomly punched in the face by dudes and are crying about it. Now, I am not one who believes that men should put their hands on women in a violent manner like that. However, this is very ironic to me. When you, as a city, vote over and over again for soft on crime policies, defunding the police, and you essentially vote away your rights to self-defense, i.e. voting away gun ownership in your city, and siding with criminals instead of non-criminals in cases of self-defense, then you're going to have this. You're going to have instances of dudes just randomly punching women in the face, or people throwing other people in front of the subway in New York City, resulting in the National Guard being there. Like, maybe if you didn't vote away your rights and you backed the police a little bit more, and you defended yourself when someone tried to assault you, you'd have a safer city. Now, I can hear all the people who are defund the police, you're probably thinking, oh, you're just a back the blue kind of guy, aren't you? Not entirely, because there are bad cops out there. And dealing with bad cops should be surgical, not nuclear. Bad cops should be removed from the force, and there should be, I think, some kind of, database, for lack of a better word, for bad cops to not be able to get hired on in any other kind of law enforcement position ever again. We have the NICS background check system when you go to buy a gun from a gun dealer that will pull up any crime you committed in any state across the country, from Florida to Alaska, New York to California, and anywhere in between. But we don't have some kind of a database for cops who were let go because they just kind of got drunk on power or something like that. That just boggles my mind. Also, I don't think that there should be public sector unions. When your employer is the government, you shouldn't have a union that is so strong that they can't let you go. I'm sorry, that's just the way I see things there. In a little bit lighter note, RFK Jr. picked his vice president pick, and it is a woman by the name of Nicole Shanahan. Apparently, Miss Shanahan was formerly married to one of the co-founders of Google, and therefore she got a lot of money. That seems to be the reason why RFK picked her to be his VP, so she could spend as much money as she wanted on the campaign without being restricted to other restraints that a presidential campaign would have on it. This seems like a real bad pick, though, because she doesn't really seem to have any stance for anything. And apparently she has donated money to several Soros-backed district attorneys across the country, which kind of then ties back into why New York has seen such bad crime rates, because these Soros DAs are just like, get out of here. So again, I hate to say it, but you really do get the society that you vote for. Lastly, this one was just kind of darkly funny to me. Anna Kasparian over at the Young Turks claims that the CIA doesn't do coups anymore on foreign governments. This is hilarious to me because we know that this is demonstrably untrue. If you need proof, look up Gideon Rowe's Colbert Report interview, and you will find an interview from a man by the name of Gideon Rose on the Colbert Report years ago, just lightheartedly describing how the CIA toppled the Ukrainian government in 2014 that was very pro-Russian. And this was only less than 10 years ago when he said this, when he was on the Colbert Report talking about this. So to say that the CIA doesn't do this anymore is hilarious to me. And it almost makes me think that the Young Turks is getting paid by the CIA to be like a puppet for them. Again, don't have any proof of that either, so don't come at me claiming that I do. It just seems very fishy to me. Speaking of the CIA and, toppling governments and stuff, has anybody looked into the CIA to see if they have any anything to do with why Central and South America is such a shithole and why we have a lot of illegal immigration coming from those countries? It's just a thought. Just a thought I've had, and don't really have an explanation on that one. So, there you go. The news for people who hate the news in about 15 minutes. If you know someone who needs to hear the news and refuses to watch it, send them this video. And if you like this content and want to see more, drop me a like, subscribe, and a comment of what you'd like to see in the future. So, with that being said, I'm signing off, and I'll see y'all next time.